Kepler 81b eats light the way deep oceans eat sound. By the time the research platform resolves in the spray of our forward lamps, the planet below is just a smear of iron-gray haze, and the station is a hole punched in it, a negative, a geometry, of absence. The hull groans around us. I watch ice feather across the inside of the cockpit glass, fine white veins branching from a single unseen seed, and I force my jaw to unclench. Calculations, not feelings. We're under mass constraints. The landing thrusters can't burn long. We have 6 bodies and 4 days of air if the station is dead, less if it's only pretending. The distress beacon keeps coughing up its numbers in my ear, every loop the same. Colony code, sector strata, checksum, and a timestamp that's wrong in a way that makes my brain want to reject it. Not behind. Us, forward, 178 years ahead. I don't share it. I mark it, index it, and put it away like a knife. Salvage law is clearer than grief. If we turn back now, we come home empty, and so do the people who eat from my paycheck. Hard. Seal, Havel says from the pilot's couch. The words hit the glass and slide off. Our voices do that in the drop, arrive late like the ship is thinking about letting them through. Sparks is behind me, fingers worrying the strap of his harness until the fabric squeaks. He hums under, his breath, a dead channel whine. Rivas's helmet is in her lap, visor up. Her breath fogs and doesn't clear. The platform's bay doors gape open. No landing beacons, no hazard strobes, no guidance rails lighting up to tell us we are welcome, or warned. The black in there feels thicker than the black outside it. On Havel's second attempt, the stabilizers bite. The docking claws extend with an ugly cough I feel in my teeth. We kiss the deck, more impact than contact, a shrug through the ship's bones. When the gantry deploys, it sounds like a chain being dragged someplace we can't see. I cycle the air. The smell that comes in is colder than the numbers say it should be. It has weight. It has a taste. Metallic dust, rusted coins, and something like old, damp clothes left at the bottom of a locker. Nothing moves beyond the ramp. The station is a mouth, and we are a tongue pressed out to test if the teeth will close. Comms. Check, I say, because routines keep your hand steady. Voices return, 6 names, 6 acknowledgements, all a half-second late. The delay is real. The numbers don't lie. The station might. I seal my helmet and stand. My knees complain. I've been sitting too long. Sparks gives me a look through his visor that wants to be a joke and falls short. Shadows hang like fabric above the rafter line. Too much material for the architecture. The lamp on my shoulder cuts a blade through it and shows nothing. The dark swallows the light and does not spit. First step down the ramp. Metal remembers, cold. The soles of my boots chirp. I can hear the air moving in the bay at the edge of sensation. Not a breeze, but a circulation. A deep building breath through miles of pipe. It makes the frost at the corners of my visor crawl. It makes the inside of my mouth taste like blood. I tell myself I'm calm and measure how often I have to run that sentence to make it true. The landing bay reminds me of naval dry dock, if naval dry dock had been abandoned long enough for condensation to develop habits. The deck is black and pitted, scraped by things heavier than our ship. 2 cranes are frozen in a broken embrace high above, hooks penduluming slow as if gravity here is drunk. There's a reception terminal on the near wall, a coffin nailed upright, still alive enough to bleed light. Its screen flickers at 0.5-second intervals like a heartbeat that can't decide. I tap its wake pad. The pad is soft and yields like skin under my glove. The interface blue shifts, then snaps to a login loop older than my grandmother. No welcome. No access, just the reflection of my own face distorted by the static. Feels wrong, Spark says. He's close enough that I can see his eyelashes frost inside his faceplate, like we're late to our own funeral. Stay on channel, I say. He nods because his mouth can't. We fan out on a line. Havel stays with the ship, stated policy. Tamsin watches our rear, one hand on the handle of the medical kit. touch belied by knuckles gone white. Riva steps with a biologist's scan of angles and edges. She's counting the shapes that are ordinary, so the shapes that aren't stand. Out my lights find the bay's far door. It's the only one not tagged as out of service in that toothless terminal's sickly glow. The door's surface is cold, but not like metal. Cold like something that has been inside the cold long enough to become its own source. Frost breathes. At its seams, pulses slow with the station's circulation. I slide a glove across it. The glove squeaks and the sound is eaten while I'm still hearing it. Power's intermittent, I say. Manual override. Sparks kneels at the panel. His hands move with that reckless grace nervous systems develop when fear is a constant background tone. He exposes wiring that looks normal for 2 inches and then becomes something else. Braids of insulated cabling that have fused into each other, skin grown into skin. He doesn't look at me because he knows what my face will do. He coaxes the latch with the gentleness you use for people in pain. The door clunks and lifts 6 centimeters. The smell that spills out is colder than the bay, and sharp with the anode tang of machinery that has been wet too long. Beyond it a corridor, narrower, then safety regs. Lights out along the ceiling except for the ones that wake when we step, each a blink of astonishment. Cables like wet vines swing low enough to brush the crown of my helmet. The floor is ribbed for traction and slick with condensation. Our footsteps become paired echoes that don't belong to us. My HUD clock stutters, catches and resets to zeros that count up wrong, then stop counting at all. We keep it tidy, Tamsin says. A joke. It arrives a second late and dies. Map uplink? I ask. Rivas shakes her head. Her jaw flexes once. She's chewing a piece of gum she didn't have a minute ago. We move. The corridor doglegs and opens above a viewport. I slow without meaning to. I expect the planet to be there. A smear of storm, the cold color of iron. There is nothing. No starfield, no light. Just a lacquered black that looks poured smooth as obsidian and as depthless. For a moment I think the glass is dead. For a moment I think the black is my helmet reflecting night back at me. Then my lamp slips and I catch the edge. No reflection, no surface, just absence. My stomach gives a small traitorous roll. Horizons are for people who believe they can go somewhere. This thing erases travel from the options. Shields? Sparks asks. His voice is the sound of a man backing away from a cliff in his head. No power for that, I say. I don't know which of us I'm lying to. We pass marks on the walls, painted hazard hashes, sequential station labels, and they are wrong. The numbers repeat in a way that would be funny if we were home with coffee. 14 to 14, 14, then 12, then 14 again. The fixture IDs do that too. 1 digit off in a pattern that feels like a misremembered song. I count them anyway because counting is anchoring. I count to prove I still can. A terminal set into the wall blinks awake as we approach, as if listening. The screen shows a maintenance log. I swipe to scroll it and the log moves, but not to where my finger sends it. The entries are dates that don't exist. The oldest line says maintenance complete. Welcome back, Osborne. My name, not rank, not title, personal. My throat does a dry click. I do not tell anyone. I put that away with the beacon's timestamp and the payday that keeps me fearless. Survival logic is triage. You don't bleed information you can't bind. Sparks is staring up. Hear that? He asks, and his voice is a fraction higher. I hold breath. Listen. There's a noise like teeth grinding far away. A subterranean metal-on-metal shift with enough pressure behind it to make the deck sing in my boots. It comes from the rafters, from the dark that is not empty, from the spaces between cable runs where our lights find nets of webbing. No, not webbing. Just condensation strings. Just stainless chain sag. I can't finish lying to myself when I see it move. A rope of cable slackens and tightens with no weight on it. A length of pipe inhales and exhales vapor at an interval too slow to be mechanical. Shapes resolve above us, Scaffolds, platforms, catwalk rungs, and for half a second my eye draws lines between random dark and makes a body there. A patient negative of a long-limbed thing upside down and still. I hold the image so I don't have to hold the cold sitting under my sternum. Keep moving, I say. It sounds like an order I've given before. The corridor ends at a junction with 3 options, all bad. Left is a wash of condensation, right is a band of dry that makes the skin at the back of my neck itch. Straight is a hatch with a window that shows nothing but our own lamp beams bouncing back. Not quite true. I choose straight because straight implies intention. The hatch's operating wheel is slick. My gloves squeal again and my teeth answer. The wheel gives 6 degrees, then locks. I pull harder. Something on the other side resists, then yields, like a muscle deciding it can be persuaded. It opens into a space larger than a corridor but not large enough for comfort. I read shapes without seeing details. Benches bolted to deck, a diagnostic rig, an overhead rail with a carrier that should hold cargo and instead holds nothing. The air is colder. It has a stale sweetness like sleep in it. My breath fogs the Eeyore. Inside of my visor for a full second, enough to blind, enough time for any number of things. The lamps on the diagnostics rig wake wrongly, cycling through boot modes in fractured order. One flickers to life with the soft whine of a cathode waking from long neglect and shows a schematic that looks like a station map until the pathways begin to pulse, and then it looks like a nervous system trying to learn how to be a machine. The lines converge at a central sphere labeled core. Around it, annotations crawl and rewrite themselves. I don't recognize the script. I blink, and for the span of the blink I do. It says, in a hand I could swear is mine. You brought it. I take a step back and bump shoulders with Tamsin. She jumps. We are all too big for this room. The room is too small for the things that could happen in it. Osborne, Havel says in my ear from far behind us, voice thready with interference. Docking arms, reading pressure differentials. You seeing that? Affirmative, I say, though what I'm seeing is my HUD clock jitter, drain, and then reset to 0 with a bright little chime, like a game that thinks it is starting. The counter ticks up 1 second and stops. It is a lie even while it tries to be comforting. Something shifts above the doorway we came through, not sound first. Pressure. The subtle static pull of hair wanting to rise under a helmet. Then the tiniest patter, like dust falling. I look up and catch, at the edge of my light, the suggestion of movement. A ripple where there should be hard edges. The air system's breath deepens. The pipes answer with a low complaint. Rivas lifts her light. The beam breaks in the fog we made with our own bodies. The reflection it throws onto the glossy wall is wrong. My shadow is facing the wrong way. My breath hits the inside of the glass and sticks there, a white smear that smears again when I tell myself not to panic. Nerves fire in my hands. I inventory that sensation, assign it space next to hunger and the ache in my lower back. I do not look at the door because I know, in the way you know when a wave is about to hit, that if I look, it will decide for me. I look anyway. The hatch we hauled open, our one way back toward the ship, toward Havel, and the thin thread of policy and procedure that makes men brave, drops a centimeter. The hydraulics whisper. The whisper becomes a hush. Metal rubs metal and the sound is wet, like a mouth making a promise with lips too cold to move. Tamsin makes a small animal sound and swallows it. Sparks's breath stutters in my ear. Rivas takes one involuntary step toward the narrowing gap, and stops because she understands that reaching for doors is how hands get broken. I count the options. I count the seconds that aren't being counted. I count the promises I made the crew and the ones I made a banker on Mars. I count, and the numbers equal the shape of a choice I already made when I didn't tell them about the beacon's timestamp. Forward at any cost. The hatch drops again, a slow, careful settling, like whatever is on the other side is learning how to close. The hydraulics exhale, long and gentle. The sound goes up into the rafters and comes back changed, doubled, as if answered by lungs hidden in the walls. The door seals behind us on its own, hydraulics hissing like something breathing in the walls. The corridors aren't built for people, at least not people who need space to breathe. They force us into a file so narrow my shoulder brushes cold wall plating with every step. Even through the insulation of my suit, I can feel the temperature bleed in. Somewhere above us, a low hum vibrates through the bulkheads, too deep to be part of the normal life support cycle. It thrums in my bones, a bass pulse that almost matches my heartbeat, but not quite. Wet cables hang like the roots of something old and patient, dripping condensation in irregular patterns. The drops hit the deck with soft ticks that carry too far in the stale air. When I pass under one, the water slides down my visor in a thin trail, distorting the light into oily prisms. I wipe it away with a gloved hand, but the smear only gets worse. We pass the first window. It should look out over the planet. Kepler 81b's mottled gray surface, ice storms swirling in the distance. But there's nothing. Not darkness. Not space. Just a void so absolute it swallows every beam from our helmet lamps. I lean in, close enough for my breath to fog the glass, and it doesn't reflect me. My own face should be there, warped in the curve, but the pain offers nothing back. Like the window doesn't believe in me. Sparks lags 2 steps behind, tilting his helmet toward the walls. You hear that? His voice is quiet but jagged. Like teeth. Grinding. I pretend not to understand. Probably structural shift, temperature variance, but I hear it too. A slow, deliberate scrape, metal on metal that comes in bursts, like someone is chewing just beyond the wall. We keep moving. The corridor narrows further, cables crowding overhead, swaying minutely in air that isn't moving. Tamsin mutters about the deck schematics not matching. She keeps flicking her wrist display, as if staring at the map will make the path straighten. A locked lab door interrupts the monotony, a slab of reinforced alloy with no active panel, only a dead keypad coated in frost. Across its surface are deep gouges, 5 parallel rakes, 2 wide for human fingers and 2 even for panic. Something or someone tried to get in here. Not out. Sparks hovers near the markings. Looks recent, he says, voice pitched low like we're talking about someone who might still be listening. I check the edges. The frost inside the grooves is thinner than on the rest of the door. He's right. Whatever clawed at this metal did it after the station went cold. I mark it in my head and keep walking because there's no power in lingering near unanswered questions. Not here. The lights overhead sputter. Once, twice. Then a full blackout that lasts long enough for my suit's night vision assist to kick in. The world shifts into monochrome grain. My HUD's motion tracker flares with a single blip at the edge of range. Then the lights blink back to life and it's gone. That's when I see it. Not it, really. Just the evidence of it. For one stuttering frame of illumination, my shadow on the far wall is facing the wrong direction. Its head is turned toward me, shoulders hunched like it's waiting for me to notice. My stomach locks, heat flooding my skin even though the air is freezing. When the light's steady, the shadow is normal again, anchored to my movements. I keep moving. Faster now. My pulse spikes hard enough that my suit pings me with a minor vitals alert. The second window offers the same impossible void, but something about it has changed. There's a faint distortion now, a ripple that shifts when I move, as though the blackness itself is closer, pressed against the glass, pushing back. Are we? Spark starts but cuts himself off. His hands are clenched at his sides, gloves creaking. I don't ask what he was going to say. We've all been on enough missions to know that naming the wrongness gives it weight. We reach an intersection. Both branches vanish into darkness, and the way ahead is blocked by another sealed hatch, this one with its status panel flickering in irregular bursts. I tap the screen. It buzzes under my glove like a trapped insect. It flashes green for a moment, access granted before going dead again. I don't touch it a second time. Havel's voice crackles in my ear from the ship, distorted like the signal is routing through something that doesn't want it to reach. AI status? Moving through primary corridor, powers unstable. There's a pause, static heavy. Your comms are... The rest cuts out. Sparks tilts his head suddenly like an animal catching scent. You hear that? He says again. I do. But it's not teeth this time. It's breathing, slow, controlled, coming from ahead of us, deep in the dark of the left corridor. I raise my hand to signal stop, but the sound stops first as if it knows it's been heard. Tamsin glances between us. What? She mouths. Before I can answer, the lights die again. A total blackout. My visor fills with my own ragged breath, each exhale frosting the inside. My night vision kicks in, and for a heartbeat, I think the corridor is empty. Then the grain shifts, like static rearranging itself into shape. I see something tall, thin, not moving but not still either, like a photograph that's still being developed. The lights snap back. Nothing there. We push forward because standing still feels like consent. At the next bend, the corridor widens enough that we can move two abreast. My relief lasts only seconds before I realize it means there's space for something else to walk beside us. The cables above drip faster here, each droplet a cold tap against my helmet as I pass under. My gloves are damp from brushing them aside, and the moisture seeps cold through the fabric, numbing my fingers. Sparks is muttering under his breath now, words I can't make out through the suit comms. I almost ask, but his posture stops me, head down, shoulders hunched like he's listening to someone else. We pass one more window. This time, the void doesn't just sit there, it moves. A slow, rolling shift like something vast has turned over in deep water. The glass fogs for a moment, but it's not from us, it's from the other side. I don't look again. The next hatch cycles automatically as we approach. I don't remember anyone overriding it. The hydraulics hiss as the metal plates retract into the walls, the sound wet and mechanical all at once. Beyond is another long corridor, lined with more sealed doors. My HUD clock glitches, digits scrolling, too fast before settling on nonsense. All zeros. I keep my eyes forward, scanning for movement, but the peripheral space around my visor feels too occupied. My suit temperature drops 3 degrees in less than a minute. Then, over the comms, A. Whisper, not just any whisper. My name. Not the one on my uniform. Not the one in mission logs. The one my father used when I was 5 years old, scraped knees and dirt under my nails. A name I haven't heard in decades. The sound is too close. It's not coming from the earpiece. It's inside my helmet. I freeze mid-step. My breathing roars in my ears, the others keep walking, oblivious. The voice comes again, softer, as if leaning in. Don't fall behind. I turn, slow, deliberate. There's nothing there. But my shadow, stretched across the wall, is already facing me. Hydroponics sits on the station's belly like a forgotten lung, self-contained, gasketed, a climate blister, bolted to a dead organism. The door is a curved iris glass inset to show you what you're risking before you risk it. The panel beside it stutters through boot cycles like a dying fish trying to breathe. I can feel the air change before the seal breaks. Colder at first, then a soft, wet heat leaking through hairline gaps. A fugitive humidity that carries the sour sweet of old water and something electrical that's been wet too long. We force the iris with manual pressure because that's what the station understands. The hinges complain in a voice like old cartilage. Warm breath spills out and fogs the room behind my visor for a heartbeat. Impossible through a sealed suit. And when it clears, I know 2 things I didn't know a second ago. The growlites are awake in there, and something that isn't a fan is breathing. The lights aren't uniform. Half the grid pulses in a tired magenta meant for greens. The other half fritzes between a sick aquarium blue and the bruised yellow of an early winter sun. They throw slow-moving shadows across rows of tanks and trellis frames and nutrient gullies that spill down the room's length like shallow irrigation canals. Condensation sheets the glass partitions. Droplets bead, race each other, merge, fall. and the sound of their impacts is amplified, like rain on a metal roof. The smell of chlorophyll is wrong. Too metallic, cut with copper, and the clean bite of ozone as if someone's welding underwater. We find the first body 10 meters in, slumped against a main feed manifold like it died listening for the heartbeat of the machine. It's desiccated, skin lacquered tight to long bones, cheeks hollowed into permanent astonishment. The eyes are gone, sockets replaced by polished black. Not lenses, not implants that I recognize. Smooth, reflective, each orb cupped by a ring of darkened tissue as if the body grew away to look a different way. Wires thread into the mouth in neat braids, 3 sunken through split lips, another pair disappearing under the stretched skin of the jaw. The lines dive into the manifold, vanishing into a plexus of tubing where water should have been a lifetime ago. I inventory. The suit mic records my quiet count even though I don't speak it out loud. 1 adult, station coveralls, no visible, tag right hand missing third finger at proximal phalanx, no defensive wounds I can see. The practical thinking keeps my hands still. I'm grateful to it because what my stomach wants to do would slow us down, and slowing down is consent. Sparks hangs back a step, shoulders hunched as if making himself smaller would help. Tamsin keeps her light off and watches with her body, not her eyes. Rivas moves like a magnet drawn over iron filings, pulled by the sum of small pieces toward the thing that holds them together. She is quiet a long time. Then she squats, visor, close to the desiccated face, and says, not into comms but into the air between her mouth and the dead mouth, "Do you see that? I don't want to see anything else." I lean anyway. The black eyes throw our lamp beams back in small, perfect circles. The mouth is a vertical slit around the cables. The corners are cracked, glossy with something like thin varnish. Rivas points, one gloved finger almost touching the skin but not quite. She's learned the same way I did that contact changes what you're telling the world. "There," she says, and her voice is too steady. It just mouthed a word. Blink. The dead mouth is the dead mouth. Wires where language would be. My suit HUD registers a tiny spike in carbon dioxide that isn't mine. I cycle my breath, slow, audit my vitals. The room breathes with me, and that's a mistake. It tells me we're in a kind of rhythm together. Gardens don't run dry, Sparks mutters. They're closed loops, they eat their own ghosts. He's still staring at the manifold, like the shape of the plumbing can't explain how a human face got recruited for water delivery. He isn't wrong about loops. Hydroponics is a promise you make to yourself about never needing more than what you brought, as long as you can bear to drink what you used to be. The plants pulse then, not wind. The air here has weight, but no motion. It's the leaves themselves, thick and waxy and too dark, tensing as one the way seaweed tightens when a wave draws back. The trellised vines lift barely a centimeter and settle, a single full-body shiver that runs the length of the room. My lamp catches something on the undersides of the leaves, a pattern that isn't vasculature, too regular, a lattice like etched circuits traced in dull metal. Rivas doesn't step away. Of all of us, she has always been the one to watch a thing longer than the fear wanted her to, as if understanding could be armor. It has saved us before. It will fail her one day. The odds like failure. She says, "It's," responding to. Her face changes. Not the face, the expression, the motor program under it. Confusion first, then the drop into fear with no steps between, like a trap door opening. Her pupils flood black. Her light angles past the body to the partition behind it, and I follow because my neck knows before my eyes that the glass is not behaving like glass. It ripples. A slow, interior wave runs through the pane from right to left, surface tension, bending the room in its reflection, bending us, bending the dead. It's like watching heat distort air, except this is cold and the sound that goes with it is the metallic tunk of a jar equalizing pressure. I move without deciding. My hand closes on Rivas's harness and drags. She's lighter than she looks. There's a tiny resistance, A rubbery give like suction when you pull a sticker off a window and she stumbles backward. The dead body shifts with us. The wires in its mouth tighten a fraction and a weak current comes up into my palm through her suit. It's not possible, and it's happening. The ripple carries across the glass and stops as if it struck a seam. Behind the partition, nutrient gullies mirror ours. The lights are out there. Something presses against the opposite surface from the inside, slow and deliberate, a push with intent but no hurry. First a disc of distortion, then the outline of a handprint develops from the pressure points outward the way frost grows around a nail driven into the cold. The palm is broad. The fingers are too long. As it leans, silver veins spread under the skin, metal threading through flesh in capillary filigree. When it reaches its fullest press, when the pain flexes around it and time thins to a membrane, I see lacework embedded in the bones, conductive tracery like the leaf undersides, like the wiring at the mouth of the dead. Tamsin whispers, "No," as if the word could be a boundary. The smell intensifies. Wet copper and ozone, the scent of arcing equipment and new blood. The hairs along my arms try to rise under insulation. The humidity climbs enough that sweat beads on my upper lip, and then my visor fogs again, and this time the fog doesn't dissipate on schedule. I feel moisture condense and run in threads along the inside lower edge of the faceplate, drip into the seam at my jaw. A system designed to reject intrusion is admitting it. Anxiety has a taste when it meets electronics. Battery tang, a smear of aluminum on the tongue. I swallow and there's grit in it. I refuse the idea that the room is inside me now. If I accept that here, I won't accept anything after. Spark says something through teeth I imagine he's clenching hard enough to crack. Electrostatics, maybe. Or it's learning. Or something that pretends this is an exchange of forces we understand. The truth is shorter. We are out of category. On the manifold, the corpse leans, just perceptible, as if gravity is different between the glass and the lines that drink from it. The black eyes shine. For a flicker, I think I see a face reflected in them. Mine, yes, helmeted, lamp too bright. And layered over mine, another, longer, inverted, upside down in the negative space. My heart judders. The suit dutifully logs the event. I pull Rivas another step. The way you lever a friend away from a cliff they are brightly insisting is safe, and the suction breaks with a sound like a wet glove leaving skin. Her breath saws quick. I can hear it overchannel because she forgot to mute. She is staring not at the handprint but at the dead mouth. "It moved," she says, and now her voice is not steady. It said a word. She tries to form it. Welcome. Or welcome back. Or maybe that's just the room speaking through her because we brought the word with us when we docked. The hand on the other side lifts. The glass rebounds, relieved of pressure. For a moment there's nothing, no movement beyond the veil, only the fat raindrops of condensation resuming their careful pilgrimage down the pane. I think, stupidly, of the bank on Mars, and the number on a screen whose length buys futures. I think of the way I didn't tell them about the beacon's timestamp because leadership is the art of withholding what will unmake a crew. I think about loops. I don't want to think about loops, so I count fittings along the manifold until my breath is a count too. I almost miss the first noise. Not a bang, not a thud. A click, from somewhere inside the wall, inside the glass, like a tiny switch being flipped by a patient hand. The sound is precise. It repeats and each repetition is fractionally slower, as if something is sinking to a rhythm we didn't know we kept. The black eyes in the desiccated face shine a little brighter. My lamp sputters once, on the edge of a surge. Movement disturbs the nutrient gully behind the pane, not light but texture, a tightening ripple traveling its length against gravity. The vines over our heads tense again, a full body shiver of green and dull metal. My mouth fills with the taste of coins I haven't put there. My visor fogs a third time and stays fogged, milky at the periphery, clear only in a rocking oval, ahead of my eyes that shifts when I breathe out. My breath is controlling my world. If I stop breathing, does the world stop too? I don't get to test the hypothesis. A hairline spreads in the glass, so fine I hear it before I see it. A singing fiber optic scream. It runs from the point where the hand pressed to the nearest frame, then branches back toward the place the frost grew. Another hairline answers it, meeting in a sharp angle that catches the light like a blade. The pain is a membrane now, bulging minutely in and out with the pressure of the room. An animal flank. Before labor. Droplets hang, trembling. Bigger than surface tension wants to allow, as if waiting for permission to be born. Back, I say. And nobody moves because nobody knows whether back exists anymore. We were safer a minute ago if safety can be measured. On a scale that includes this room. The cracks spread, slow as roots hunting water, slow as ice deciding a river's shape. They branch into delicate geometry, a winter on a window bloom, 1,000 decisions in 1,000 directions, all of them converging on the place our lights reflect. Each tiny line is accompanied by that bright insectile sound. Tangential fissures make letters my brain tries to read and fails. My body thinks they're veins. My body thinks that means there's a heart. Then the tapping starts, faint at first, exploratory. The polite knuckles of a guest who knows you're home. Once, twice, 3 times, measured, patient. Inside. The glass cracks in a slow spiderweb pattern, and something starts tapping from the inside. The tapping doesn't stop. It learns. The rhythm swells into something impatient, each strike pushing a faint bow into the pain. I see the cracks breathe with the impact, the way ribs swell around a scream. Behind the glass, shadowed movement thickens, vines knotting, wires coiling, like muscle bunching before a strike. The smell of wet copper is heavier now, thick in my throat. Every instinct says step back. Every calculation says we don't have the air for retreat. The 4th strike isn't a tap, it's a hammer blow. The glass flexes in a way glass should never flex, swelling toward us, straining against its own frame. The sound is no longer crisp. There's a deep, wet undertone as though whatever's hitting it is both fluid and solid. I open my mouth to order fallback, but the 5th blow answers for me. The pain bursts. It doesn't shatter into pieces. It peels, splitting like skin under too much, pressure curling back in jagged ribbons. The room exhales a rush of wet air, hot and heavy, carrying a spray of droplets that spatter across my visor. Something moves through the gap faster than I can process. A whip of vines threaded with cables, studded with black metal thorns. It's on Rivas before her light finishes swinging toward it. One moment she's standing in the line with us, weight-balanced, weapon half raised. The next, she's gone, yanked sideways with such force her boots leave the deck. She slams into the nutrient. Trench, shoulder first, and the vines erupt around her like a net closing. Her scream starts human, raw, panicked, but halfway through it stutters, glitches, climbs in pitch until it's not sound anymore but a burst of signal, shrill and perfect, pouring straight into the comms. The thorns pierce her suit, locking her limbs at awful angles. For a fraction of a second she's suspended upright against the glass's remains, lit from behind by the growl lights in an obscene silhouette. Then the plants pull her backward, through the gap, into the mass of green and metal beyond. The impact of her vanishing leaves a vacuum in my mind. The deck under my boots is suddenly enormous, the air in my helmet suddenly thick. My chest tightens, not grief yet, not here. Just cold inventory. Oxygen loss without her tank. One less set of eyes, one less weapon in the line. The balance of resources shifts hard in the wrong direction. We are bleeding capacity. The vines retract almost lazily, leaving debris in their wake. What's left behind isn't her body. It's just her helmet, rolling in a slow, tilting circle until it comes to rest upright. The visor is shattered, jagged edges curling outward, as if something pushed its way out. The interior is wet, glistening in our lights. It faces us like an accusation. Nobody moves toward it. Tamsin has both hands on her rifle, but the muzzle trembles. Sparks' weapon hangs at his side, useless, as he stares at the helmet like it's speaking without sound. Then he starts laughing. Not the kind that cuts tension. This is sharp, high, shaking, every breath clipped off too early. It's the sound a mind makes when something vital inside it snaps and doesn't bother to hide the break. Gone, he says, voice pitching up, between syllables. Just gone. Pulled in like a cable splice. He chuckles again, but there's no joy in it, only the rhythm of something winding too tight. I want to tell him to shut it down, to lock it away before it eats him alive. But the truth is, he's just showing what the rest of us are trying to smother. The panic isn't coming, it's here, pacing inside our helmets, waiting for the moment we can't keep the door shut. And then, through the channel, Revis's voice, clear, steady, close. I'm still with you. The line is so clean it could be recorded. My gut says it isn't. The sound doesn't come from the shared comm feed. It doesn't fuzz with distance or static. It's inside my helmet. We split into pairs because staying in a group feels slower, and slowness is dangerous here. I don't remember agreeing to it, but I'm with Tamsin now, Sparks ahead with Havel, and the rest scattered into the station's branching veins. Helmet clock says 0342 × 17. Tamsin says 110904. Neither matches the one on my wrist, and that one is skipping numbers like it's censoring time. The corridors don't line up with the schematics on my display. Every intersection we pass is labeled wrong, hazard tags appearing where there's nothing, clear passage marked over blocked hatches. We try to move with intent, choose left, track the number of turns, but the air smells the same everywhere, metal dampness and the faint tang of ozone. It's too easy to lose the memory of the last junction when each looks like the one before. We take a straight run toward what should be Section D, but a slow dread settles in when the same dangling conduit and same scorch mark appear ahead, down to the shape of the blackened arc. I look over my shoulder. Behind us the same junction yawns, same conduit, same scorch mark. Either the station is folding in on itself or we're already in a loop. Stop, Tamsin says, voice tight. She flips her visor HUD to map overlay. The tracking line is tangled, dozens of loops, crossings, spirals, but the last segment shows us walking into our own position from two different directions. She kills the map without comment. We press on. The medbay door hisses reluctantly open when I lean into the manual override. The smell inside is sharp with alcohol that hasn't been opened in decades and something sweeter underneath like rotting fruit. The lights strobe on low power, casting a pulse across white-tiled walls. On the central desk, half buried under overturned trays and scattered vials, sits a data core. Its casing is scratched, but when I touch it through my glove, it's warm. Not ambient warm, used warm. My pulse ticks up. This station shouldn't have had a warm anything in years. I slot the core into my wrist reader. The screen flares with static, then resolves into video. The feed is handheld, shaky. The first image is the medbay itself, but the lights are steady in the footage. Then the perspective turns toward the corridor, and I see myself walking past, helmeted, alone, visor dark. My posture is wrong, too heavy, and as the camera follows, I catch details that chill the sweat in my suit. Black metallic growths web across my suit, lacing my arms, wrapping my torso, threading into the seams at my joints. They move faintly, pulsing with some internal rhythm. My gait is slow, almost measured. I stop at the junction, turn toward the camera, and even though my visor is dark, I know my eyes are on it. The footage cuts there. The reader ejects the core on its own, as if refusing to store what it just showed. I put it down carefully like it could burn through the desk. In my ear, Sparks's voice breaks the stillness. Movement ahead. His breathing is quick, ragged. Too many legs for one person. The phrase sticks under my skin. Repeat? Not human. He trails off into static. I can still hear him breathing, but it's shallow, like he's hiding. Then, silence. I glance at Tamsin. Her eyes are locked on the dark medbay doorway like she's expecting it to produce whatever Sparks saw. My throat is dry. I swallow, and it only makes it worse. Every part of me is screaming to stop, to wait, to reassess, but the deeper part, the part this place is shaping, knows stopping, feels like dying. So I move, and Tamsin moves with me. We take a different corridor, one that slopes slightly down, cables hanging thicker overhead, some touching the deck in lazy coils. The walls sweat condensation in irregular streaks. My boots leave no prints. Either the moisture erases them instantly, or the deck's not solid enough to remember. Then, footsteps. Fast. Running. Close. We whip around, rifles raised. The sound is clean, unbroken, boot on deck, getting closer. My lamp beam cuts down the corridor and the air catches motes of dust like snow. And out of that snow I emerge, helmeted, alone, moving fast. The control room is supposed to be the station's brain, neatly wired, labeled human. But as soon as the hatch slides open, I know it's not ours anymore. The walls are still paneled in standard plating, but sections have been peeled back, warped outward like muscle stripped from bone. Beneath the steel, something older is exposed. Alien. Glyphs carved into the substrate, not etched in straight lines but flowing curves, each one looping into the next. They aren't dead marks. They pulse faintly, a slow throb like veins just under the skin. Every time they light, the consoles above them flicker in sync, as if feeding from the same heartbeat. The main beacon is mounted dead center, cables feeding into it from all directions. I expected to see its signal status broadcasting outward, a clean call for aid. Instead, the diagnostics show the opposite. It's drawing, pulling. Threads of inbound data from across light years, all terminating here. The pulse is in my ears. Now, not just the walls. I scroll through the logs. They aren't coordinates or standard communications, they're fragments. Words, voices, laughter, shouting. Please. I recognize some of them without ever having heard them before. Others are like half-forgotten dreams. I scroll faster and something clicks in the back of my skull. It's not recording history. It's rewriting it. Flashes hit behind my eyes, sharp, bright, unstoppable. A woman in a red flight suit I've never met, smiling in the galley. A cargo bay stacked with crates I've never loaded. Sparks and I playing cards under warm yellow. Lights that never existed here. I see Tamsin's face, but not her voice. She's mouthing words in a language I almost understand. My hands are shaking. I try to count backwards, anchor myself, but the numbers feel wrong in my mouth. My memories are tangled now with moments that don't belong. I can't separate the edges. Some feel older than me. Some feel like they never belonged to a human at all. Sparks's voice crackles in the comm. You need to see this. He's standing at an open service hatch at the far end of the room. It drops into darkness, the ladder vanishing after 3 rungs. He's already halfway down when I reach it. I follow because standing still in this place feels like it will rot me from the inside. The air thickens as we descend, warmer, wetter, carrying a mineral tang like stone corridors underground. The walls aren't flat down here. They curve and the material changes from cold alloy to something smoother, almost organic, each seam fitting into the next like growth rings. We step into a space that should not exist beneath a human-built station. It's a cathedral, long and narrow, ribbed with arching supports that aren't welded but grown. The bone-white ridges connect overhead like the spine of something ancient. Between them, cables hang in loose, dripping clusters, swaying in a draft that doesn't touch my skin. At the center, a cylindrical tank towers from floor to ceiling, its surface not glass but some translucent membrane. Inside, suspended in thick amber liquid, is a figure. Its limbs are too long, its frame lean but powerful, plated in segments that catch and scatter the light from our helmets. Filigree lines run through its body like embedded circuitry, glowing faintly with the same rhythm as the glyphs above. We're still a dozen meters away when it moves. not a twitch. An intentional turn of the head, slow and precise. It's looking at us before the beams of our lamps touch it. My stomach knots hard enough to steal my breath. Spark stops breathing altogether. I hear the absence over the comm. The thing tilts its head, the motion wrong in a way that suggests it's trying to remember how. The glow in its circuitry brightens, matching the spike of my heartbeat, and then it speaks, not through the room, not through the comms, straight into my mind, and the voice is my own. There's no sleep here. Even when I close my eyes, the station hum follows me, low, steady, syncing with my pulse until it's hard to tell which came first. The sound doesn't fade in the quiet. It grows. It becomes the quiet. My own heartbeat feels like it's keeping time for something else. Sparks hasn't been right since the cathedral. None of us have, but his unraveling is easier to spot. He corners me in a corridor, voice tight over the comm, saying he saw me in the chamber with the tank, whispering, "To it." I tell him I haven't been there since we left, but his stare lingers like he's trying to match my face to something in his head. I'm not sure he's wrong. In the reflection of my visor, I see myself grin. My lips don't move, but the image does, teeth bared in a humorless, hungry curve. I pull away fast, breath loud in my helmet, but when I check again, the face is normal. Almost hours, or maybe minutes later, I catch myself scratching shapes into the frost that's crept along the bulkhead. Not letters I know. Curved lines, spirals, marks that link and cross in ways that feel inevitable. I don't remember starting them. The tip of my glove is damp and cold. I wipe the wall clean, but when I glance back, the frost has already returned, carrying the same shapes as before. The corridors have changed. Thin, black filaments crawl over the walls, weaving into a lattice that pulses faintly as we pass. They shrink away from my light, then swell back once I've gone by. Every touch of my boots sends a soft shiver through them, like they're listening. Somewhere deep in the structure, a metal drip echoes. One drop. Two. A pause. Another. It's steady enough to be a clock, but it doesn't keep human time. I try to track it, follow the sound, but the station folds on itself. Corridors that should lead to the docking bay open into stairwells I've never climbed, into junctions I've already passed. The station has stopped pretending to be mapped. Check my suit's day counter and it's blank. Just a single dash. My chest tightens. Not panic yet, just the slow squeeze of losing reference points. Without them, the mission collapses into a moment stretched too thin to stand on. The hum grows louder. The drip matches my breathing. The frost on the bulkhead spells something I almost understand. I blink. Once, twice, and I'm somewhere else, entirely. I'm in the chamber again. The tank looms in front of me, taller than it was before, its amber liquid shot through with drifting motes of light. My gloves are wet. My palms are pressed flat to the membrane. The thing inside is gone. Find Sparks in the junction outside the comms array, sitting against the wall like he's catching his breath, but his left arm is bare, glove off, sleeve torn to the elbow. At first I think the suit fabric's fused to his skin, but then I see the split. It's clean, deliberate, running from wrist to bicep. Beneath the pale flesh, cables coil and flex like muscle, they're sheathing the color of wet bone. They move with him, tightening when his fingers curl, loosening when his hand opens. He doesn't scream, doesn't even flinch. He strokes one cable with his right hand like he's checking the tension on a favorite tool. "Feels right," he says. His voice is calm in a way that makes my teeth hurt. I glance down at my own hands. The nails have gone darker since the last time I looked, black pooling under the keratin, spreading in crescents toward the quick. When I tap the wall for balance, the sound is sharper than it should be, like I'm knocking metal against metal. The station breathes. It's not an idea anymore, it's a pattern I can feel. Each inhale comes as a faint draft through the vents, bringing a chill that settles on my skin. Each exhale is a warm, damp fog that mists my visor, timed with the hum in the walls. We barricade ourselves in the forward storage bay, Tamsin locks the inner hatch. Havel jams the outer, but the filaments don't care about doors. They seep through the seams like smoke, knitting themselves into ropes as they slide along the deck. They curl around my boots, light, almost gentle, like fingers tasting the air. The touch is probing, memorizing. I resist the urge to kick them away. Sparks rises, cradling his altered arm. His smile is wrong, stretched too far, teeth catching the light in a way that stops me cold. They're not teeth anymore, not entirely. Metal glints between enamel, tiny serrations running along the edges. He offers me his sidearm. Grip first. "You'll need it," he says, as if the end is already a fixed point, and all that's left is to meet it armed. I take it without a word. The weight feels heavier than it should be, like the pistol knows what it's for. In the dim light, I catch my reflection in the black glass of the sealed storage case beside me. My eyes are no longer human. Sparks finds me in the dim-lit crossway between hydroponics and the core lift. His altered arm is bare again, cables flexing and contracting as if they're breathing in time with the station. There's no hesitation in his voice now, no tremor, no doubt. "It spoke to me," he says. "The thing in the tank. Said it can keep us alive if one of us is given willingly." His gaze doesn't leave mine. The faint, metallic click of his jaw moving punctuates every word. I nod slowly, forcing my voice flat. "Then we choose. For the mission." He accepts that too easily, falling in step as I lead him through the narrow spine corridor toward the docking level. My pulse feels mechanical in my ears, ticking against the hum in the walls. The air here is cooler, sharper, filtered through the vents that lead straight to the airlock. I keep him talking as we walk. Ask him about what it said. Ask him about the survival it promised. He answers in fragments, like a priest reciting pieces of a litany. He doesn't notice my steps shifting subtly, herding him toward the airlock hatch. When we reach it, the lock's small viewport stares out into the endless dark. The controls respond sluggishly to my hand, as if considering whether I deserve their obedience. The outer hatch indicator flashes amber, waiting. I position him close. My thumb hovers over the cycle control. I tell myself it's for the crew, what's left of us. I tell myself it's for me. And then my hands, my own hands, betray me. Instead of shoving him in, they push me back, hard. The impact knocks me into the chamber, boots clanging on the metal deck. Sparks' altered arm darts out to hit the close control. The inner hatch slams shut with hydraulic finality. He's outside, watching through the viewport. His head tilts in that wrong, predatory way, just slightly too far, like the tendons aren't bound by human limits anymore. His smile shows the serrated edges of his metal teeth. The countdown starts on its own. I glance past him toward the viewport slice of space, expecting the cold, fixed stars. But the field bends, warps, as though the void is fluid. Light runs, in thick currents folding into a pattern. No, a shape. A face impossibly large rippling across the darkness. Its eyes are vast and deep, and I feel my heartbeat matching something inside them. The comm in my helmet crackles, hisses. A voice, mine and not mine, whispers, "You're already part of us. Do you want me to move directly into Chapter 10? Cosmic trap." So this moment leads straight into the final collapse and loop? That way there's no gap before the ending beat. The first thing I feel is the deck. Cold metal through my boots, the vibration of the hull settling around us like an exhale. I know this sound. I know this sequence. Footsteps ahead of me, the others fanning out in that same formation we used when we first boarded. Their voices murmur over comms, low and cautious. But these aren't the same people. Some faces are strangers. Others are mine. Not just one version, different iterations of me. One older, gaunt and hollow-eyed. Another younger, sharper, visor unscuffed. Each one moving as if they've been here before. My HUD clock blinks. 000. It starts to tick, but the numbers run smooth and perfect, too clean to be real. The comm crackles. The sound is identical to the first time. Faint, fractured bursts of a colonial distress beacon. Same checksum, same cadence, same impossible timestamp. 178 years ahead. It's not deja vu. It's structure. The truth. Lands heavy, settling in my chest like a stone. This place isn't a station. It's a lure. It wears memory like a mask, reshaping itself to whatever we need to trust. The corridors don't lead anywhere because leaving isn't part of the design. Every path loops back to the beginning. The walls hum, and this time I hear the pattern inside it. Voices, hundreds layered over hundreds, each speaking at a different tempo. Some laugh, some cry, some whisper coordinates I almost recognize. Others speak in languages I shouldn't understand but do. Every one of them came here. Everyone stayed. My body moves without my consent. I'm at the front now, guiding the new arrivals past the threshold, down the narrow corridor where the lights flicker just enough to feel alive. My hands gesture the way they always have, confident, practiced. I'm leading them deeper. I try to fight it. My throat strains with the force of a warning, the words already forming in my head. Stop. Turn back. It's not what you think. But the voice that leaves my mouth isn't mine anymore. It's calm. Certain. Welcome back.